these are always a lot of fun for me because we're always taking somebody from the community who has a special skill to share with the rest of you so that we can really learn together, build off of each other, and you can all learn from your peers. So thank you to everyone who is joining live. As you're all filing in, we've already got the live chat started, but feel free to drop a note in the live chat and tell us where you are on your podcasting journey. We'd love to hear a little bit more about where you are, if you've been doing this for years, just getting started, maybe you're thinking about getting started. Let us know in those comments. My name is Kendall. I'm the community manager at Riverside. And for anyone who is new to Riverside, we are an end-to-end content creation platform. So you can record, edit, transcribe, make your clips, edit your full episode, do all of that right in Riverside. And we've got some really cool features coming up that I'm always announcing in the community first. So if you're not already part of the community, I'm going to go ahead right off the top and put a little clickable link on the screen to join our Conversation Creators community. And that really leads me into this session. I have with me today Leah Sparrow, who is a long form content strategist. So, really perfect to have you on today. We're going to be talking about increasing your subscribers and downloads, but also, really importantly, reaching the right people. So, how to get more people to watch your content or listen to your content, but really importantly, how to get the right people to do that. And so, I had seen Leah posting a lot in the community group about her strategy, about what she's doing, what's working, and I thought she'd be perfect to have on to really share with all of you what's been working for her and her clients. So, Leah, please feel free to introduce yourself. And actually, because I'm asking everybody in the chat about where they are in their journey, tell me about where you are in your journey as a creator.
I see a lot of people typing when they started, and we got some newbies. We got some that have, put in a year, 6 weeks. That's awesome. You guys are taking steps to grow. And if you really, really love podcasting and you find yourself drawn to learning more about cameras and all those things, but yet you're stretched with time, that is where understanding where to focus comes to play. And Kendall and I were talking about this before we went live about all the decisions we have to make. So back when I started this crazy ride and decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this on my own and left radio. I also have a background in teaching. I taught online teachers how to build their own business, which focused more on their content and how to motivate people through their content so that they could get the results they needed for their clients. On top of that, my experience with radio also teaches me how to take them from, hi, who the heck is this, to I want to sign up for your services. So the two marry each other really well. But when I started online, I was trying to run a business. I was trying to do YouTube. I was trying to do Facebook and all the things that they said to do. And this is like several years ago, back when we were like, let's just throw it all on top of everything and see if it works.
Let's just
because
throw a bunch of stuff at the wall. Yeah, yeah,
well,
yeah.
the online space is so new. It really is still new. And I think right now is where we're coming to where we have all the information we could possibly have. And we need to strip away from all of that. But one thing that stopped me back when I first started on YouTube, I mean, I made over 300 videos and recorded 20 videos in 2 days and all that kind of happy crap back then. But that's all I was doing was pumping out content like a freaking factory. And I walked away from it and went to Facebook because it's just kind of like, it felt like the same thing, just shorter content, right?
Mhm.
But then I was like, I really wanted to get back into making longer form content videos, teaching people about what I know about business and how to present services so you can teach people well. And it just pulled me back to YouTube. But I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do all the editing. And sure, I could hire an editor and all that stuff, but I'm from the radio background, and editing does not finding a video editor does not fix your client acquisition funnel. Never does. It does not monetize your podcast. They do a great job and all that. And I wanted to know what my process was for putting my video together. So Riverside comes bouncing along out of nowhere, and I try it. I test it against StreamYard, and I'm like, I need this. This is what I've been looking for because you make the editing process a lot easier. I mean, StreamYard has some updates and stuff, but honestly, it was the pricing. It was just it worked for me. I'm not going to bash any other platform, I'm going to say this is what worked for me. And I've tried a lot of shit over the
We did not pay her to say this. I'm letting you know.
years.
This
I've
is
tried.
not paid advertising, but
No,
we'll take it.
they did not pay me to say this. But the thing is look at this. I mean, I've got this mess in the back. Pardon the dust, but I have rearranged my freaking office 1,000 times. We'll do that too. But because I know where to focus in my content, I don't feel the pressure to get it done, be perfect, be perfect, be perfect, because I know I'm focusing exactly where I need to focus in my content to create a higher converting piece of content, while at the same time putting my efforts into something that's more passionate and having those resources that are so well developed and studied my market really well to where it converts easily and I can use it over and over and over again and really put my passion towards those pieces that I really like to share and share that story of my life, because we are in a stage right now where we have AI, we have all of these platforms that can expedite, but let's slow down for a minute and really think about what we're putting out there. Are we putting something out there for the right people?
Exactly, and I think we'd also been talking about this. There's so much competition out there. There's so much competition for eyes and for time because you can put out stuff on social media, but and especially when you're talking about long form content, you're really asking for people's time, and there's so many people asking for that. And you're also kind of up against a lot of creators who have full teams. So I know that there are a lot of creators in this chat who don't have those full teams and are
Mhm.
doing it by themselves, or maybe have one person that they're having edit or produce or something like that. So this session's really geared towards figuring out, Leah, what you had said, how to know where to focus.
Mhm.
And so with that, I guess we can go right into it. Let's talk about how
Yeah.
to figure out where to focus.
Yeah, well, and I'm going to say that this method also can apply when you hire a team, because if you know exactly where to look, you know exactly what to tell your team to do. So that's part of this too. This is stepping in as a business owner. So if you're ready to step into a business owner, let's get this party started.
Let's
I'm
get it started.
I'm
Hey.
Leah Sparrow, and I have helped booked out, stressed out solopreneurs ease their podcasts, ease the scaling of their podcast, not just to get more listeners, but to actually convert those listeners into clients or sponsors without burning out or throwing money at every shiny object. Those blinders we all want so badly. So, me from the Riverside community or from the Making Business Effortless podcast, which is available on YouTube, where I'm that business strategist who tells you marketing is mostly timing, psychology, and a willingness to see through all the bullshit. So before before we dive head first into this, grab yourself a journal. Let's get prepared. Get into a space of learning. Today we're going to take actionable steps. So get a journal, a napkin, a back of an envelope, whatever works, and a pen, because today I'm going to walk you through the same method my clients and I use to amplify growth and monetize our content. So I'm going to be running this workshop style. Let me know in the comments if you have my permission to work this workshop style. If you're not just going to sit there and nod politely at me. I want you to be action. We're going to take action. Okay. You're going to leave with clarity about what the hell is really happening in your podcast and what to do about it. And heads up, I don't sugarcoat, but I do care a lot. My goal today is to help you break through that sticky, frustrating plateau in your downloads, listens, or conversions, so you can actually see your podcast move the needle without burning yourself to the ground. So if that's fair to you, if you're game, drop an emoji in the chat or shout hell yes in the comments if you're on replay. Oh, and as we roll through this, toss your takeaways, your aha moments, your mic drops into the comments too. I'll hit questions at the end. So if you've got a burning one, save it and I'll grab it when we wrap. Cool? Let's get messy with this crazy thing. Are you guys ready? Let me see. Do I have emojis?
Yeah,
Do I have
we've
a
got
emoji?
we've got a lot of excitement
Oh,
in the chat.
look at that. Oh, we're so excited. Peace. I see the fist. All right. During this workshop, we are going to be covering the top 3 lies we are told that are actually mucking up your efforts to grow your podcast, gain loyal listeners, and increase your client numbers for sponsorships. Then I'm going to walk you through the same step by step process my clients and I use to gain more clarity around where to focus in our efforts to create content that grabs your listeners' attention, keeps them hanging on for more, and eventually saying, well, damn, this chick or dude gets me. I want more. So over the years, I have helped hundreds of solopreneurs double their client numbers, 10x their revenue, turn their podcast into cash generating machine, and scale a business that supports their lifestyle without using ads, bots, promoting on multiple platforms, building fancy funnels, or screaming into a pillow. But first, let's get honest for a second. You've probably been doing all the things. Your titles are sharp as a knife. Your show notes are SEO'd within an inch of their life, and your social media is buzzing, maybe even sparkly with reels and stories and stuff. But your podcast still feels like it's running through quicksand. Does this sound familiar to you? Well, you're not alone, and it is not your fault. There's a tidal wave of gurus out there handing you a pile of quick fix solutions wrapped up in a bow and promising the moon, but they simply aren't sustainable. So before we change and go into this workshop, let's gut check our mindset really quick. Ask yourself, let me know in the comments, what is one belief you currently have about what it takes or what you need to do to grow your podcast? Let me know in the comments, because today we're going to unlearn. We're going to look under the hood and rip out what's slowing you down. I want to take you through the top 3 lies people believe that are actually secretly sabotaging their podcast growth or YouTube channel growth. And these are reasons why you may potentially be stuck. So I'm going to share what these lies are, and I'm going to debunk them. After that, I'm going to show you the one method to follow to build a bulletproof game plan. We will leave this workshop with a solid plan that you can go and implement on your own or with help, but we'll get to that later. Let me check the comments. What we got going on in there? We've got some yeses. I see yeses. Everybody's ready to go. I see money. Being consistent, the length of the episode, less time to edit each episode, and consistency in publishing lots of content. Yes, there's a lot of myths out there. Consistency is key, but we're going to get to that. What does consistency really mean, right? What the heck does consistency actually mean? So it's time to torch these 3 whoppers. Are you ready? If you've been fed by the experts, you're going to see these 3 whoppers. So let me share my screen so you can see the big lies we're told on a constant basis. Second, here we go. These are our 3 lies. Number 1, you need more views or more subscribers. Now listen, more is not better if it's the wrong people. Stop chasing empty numbers. You want people who lean in, binge your stuff, and think, holy hell, where has this been all my life? The second lie we have is you need to on social media. Posting every 5 minutes, good for your dopamine hits, terrible for your strategy. Social is a megaphone, not a magnet. It keeps you visible, sure, but it rarely converts. More spinning, less winning. Yep, cliche, but true. Roast me if you've got a better metaphor, please. Number 3, you need a website, an email funnel, and all the other things before you grow. This one's sneaky. It feels like the responsible thing to do. Build the whole back end before you even know what's working. But here's what I've seen. People set up their site, email sequences, freebies, fancy equipment, all of it, and still have no clue whether their podcast is actually driving results. Building the empire before you even know what your market wants, that's putting the cart before the horse, my friend. And again, yes, if you have a sassier phrase than that, let me know in the comments, okay? Now I'm going to try to stop sharing. Now, there we go. Let me see what we got. Less time to edit. Let me scroll on down to the bottom here. I have the music, the podcast. Oh, somebody has music in there, everybody. Is shadow banning a real thing? I don't know. And let's not worry about shadow banning. To be honest, it could be a real thing. I see it more on Facebook. But we're going to focus where we can focus, where we have the power today versus what's Facebook up to, what's YouTube up to, and all that kind of thing. There are some things about YouTube, and it changes all the time. There are some things about podcasts platforms. You have to follow their policy and keep up to date with their policy and their rules for their community in order to avoid some of this shadow banning or getting blocked or that sort of thing. You have to know the platform you're on. But we are focusing on the strategy behind our content today. So back to this, we have the whole empire and all that kind of stuff, but you end up drowning in busy work while the actual strategy takes a back seat when you do a lot of these things. So here's the bottom line. Motion is not the same as momentum. You can be busy without being effective. You can have all the bells and whistles and fancy mics and a badass studio, But without a strategy behind the content of your podcast, well, let's just say you can paint the pig, but it's still a pig, baby.
I love all these phrases. I'm, like, almost gonna make a worksheet just of the phrases that you've put out there.
Like I know we've all heard them before, but give me a better one because I love them. So now I'm going to give you an example before we sit down and really dig into your podcast and get your growth plan going. I have an example of one of my VIP clients. I run the Scale Without Stress programs and services. If you want to learn more, you can always connect with me. A great way to connect with me is the Making Business Effortless podcast on YouTube. Now, my client Kay had no fancy equipment, not even a fancy microphone or a shiny camera, no ad spend, no fancy funnel, just a woman on a mission with a phone in her hand, bitches. Now, Kay monetized her YouTube channel in under a year. I'm not talking fake fancy 100K launches either. I mean actual steady, reliable growth, hitting 1,000 subscribers, turning that into legit income. Zero fancy equipment, zero huge ad spend, zero fairy dust. How? Kay listened. She went all in on hearing how her audience described their problems. And then together, we mirrored their language in her titles and content. This is how you make your content relatable. This is how you connect with your people. You talk in their language so they can understand how to employ what you're trying to teach them. That's the secret to giving someone that holy crap, you're in my head feeling. That's what keeps people coming back, clicking subscribe, and eventually pulling out their wallets. Now, today, I'm going to show you the same date method. That's what I call it the date method. Kay and I used so you can gain more clarity and confidence about where to focus. Now, this is a repeatable method. So grab your paper, open your notes, whatever, and let's tear this apart together while you're grabbing a pen and some paper or getting your device ready to take notes. I'm curious to hear which one of these mistakes or lies have you been making? Pop me a number in the comments. Was it one, two, or three, or all the above? No judgment. I went down do it all in a day lane more than once. Hell, more than 3 to 5 times. So I'm going to share those lies. Let me know which lie you fell for. I fell for them too. No big deal. And now while I'm sharing that, I'm going to get my whiteboard ready so that we can get to work on your growth plan. So while you're busy getting ready, the next thing we're going to do is cover my favorite part of this workshop. And I've got to find it first. So 1 second so I can share it. We just love lives.
It is the beauty of live. It's much more forgiving, I feel. I really like live. I also come from a radio, like, TV background like you did, and I do love live is nerve-wracking, but it's a lot of fun.
Okay, so here we go. Let me stop sharing here.
We had JD Marshall really quickly, right? What if I'm
Yeah.
not trying to sell anything? It's just an informational slash entertainment show. So I'm not looking to convert to sales. I'm just looking to convert slash find listeners I know that are out there in this niche.
This still pertains because you still have to have strategic content in order to grow the podcast to reach the people that you want. It still works whether your goal is to make money from it. That is who I serve, are people that want to make money through their services and want to do it through long form content. But I do understand that a lot of you just want to get more listeners, and you could possibly get sponsorships by doing this. But the main thing is you got to know how to keep getting them coming through your funnel. And that's what I'm going to walk you through is step by step, how to keep exactly where to look to determine where they are in their journey. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to write at the top of your piece of paper, the date method. And if you want this logo, I'm happy to share it with you so you can put it on everything you own and let everybody know that it's from me. So let me
And I was
fix
gonna
it.
just really quickly jump in and say that also I think when we're talking about conversions here for people who aren't trying to make
Yeah.
money, they're not doing it for a business. Conversions can be loyal listeners. Like
Yes.
conversions are people that can turn around and tell their friends about your show. So that's what I usually consider conversions for people that aren't necessarily doing this for business purposes, but would like to get more listeners to
Yeah.
then
That's the
ultimately get
conversion.
sponsors or just to get their stuff out there to more people.
Well, you got to think of it this way. So your conversion, if you're just wanting to get more listeners, would be watch this next episode. Or hey, if you think maybe later down the road, or some of you may have some monetized content, you can say, hey, if you want more content that reveals behind the scenes, or however you want to put it, that's special about this content, and they can pay for a membership, a small fee to get
Yes.
that kind of thing. So that's the kind of thing. It's just what is the next step? That's the
Yeah.
conversion.
I spoke with a Swiftologist. They make content about pop culture, and they are full-time podcasters, but they make most of their money from Patreon. It's not from sponsors. It's from
Right.
bonus episodes and bonus content. So, yeah, the more that you can get people to become loyal to you, you can channel that later into
And
a
it's not that,
real.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think I saw Pat Flynn talking about the same thing. He's somebody who's made a ton of channels. I think he's got 3 or 4 channels that are just making a lot of money for him, and they have nothing to do with selling services. I mean, one's about Pokemon, but he was talking about his channels, and one of them is basically running on its own.
incredible.
And he's somebody that's been around for a long, 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 long time. So that's something else that we have to take into consideration is it takes a while to discover what content people really like, and you need to focus for 1 year on podcasting, not email marketing, not website design, podcasting, because that's how the website gets formed. That's how the email series gets formed. That's how everything that follows for that next step, however you want to do your podcast, that's how that gets distinguished is by using this date method right here and discovering how you're taking people from, oh, I like this video to the next step, your call to action, whether that's signing up for services or subscribing or joining a membership to get that VIP content that nobody else can have access to without paying to get in there. So I hope that makes sense to everyone.
Yeah. Let's keep
Okay.
going.
All right, we're going to keep going. So you got your date method at the top of the screen. So let me get to my whiteboard. There we go. So we got this at the top of the screen. So this, like I said, this is my favorite part. I'm going to actually show you how to map out a growth plan for your podcast or for your YouTube channel that is going to help you see the results you're looking for and understand exactly what to focus on to be able to gain loyal listeners and monetize your content. So I call this the date method. You should be able to see my whiteboard. Everybody see my whiteboard up on the screen? It says the date method.
Let's make sure the people in the chat can see. Yes. Okay.
Okay, so
Perfect.
everybody's prepared. So you can title it date method. You don't have to, but if you want to go back to school, let's name our paper. It's the date method. So we have 4 parts. And you know what? This is like dating. So I want you to think about just for a second, it's like dating because dating marketing is dating, especially on a podcast. So picture this, you're at a party, scanning in the room, and you spot somebody interesting. Do you wink straight over with your best line or hide in the corner and hope they notice? This is what we call this part of the date method is called D. Draw them in. This is the top of your funnel. If you think of it that way, you have to have the tap on at all times. This is where your podcast needs to a hook that says, hey, this is for you. And here's why. Now I'm going to map this out. We're going to map this out together. I'll show you an example, but hang in there. Let's see what we're doing first. All right. Then we have A, attend to them. This is your nurture phase. This is where are they bite? You're talking. Are you paying attention? Are you making them feel seen and heard? Or are you just sitting there listing off your LinkedIn bio? So really think about these things, and I'll show you what we're going to do with this here in just a minute, and we can do it along together. The next one is, which I've got Mirror doing crazy stuff. There we go. The next one we have is T. Now this sounds culty. It sounds culty, but you're going to turn them. This is actually, and it still sounds culty, I know, but this is where you're going to convert them. This is where you go for the next step. Get the number, book the date, lock in the meeting. And podcasting, this is your CTA or call to action. This is, hey, here's how to work with me. What does that look like for you? Your next step is going to be E, evaluate. Now, these 2 steps, turning them and the evaluation piece, are the most common 2 steps that are missed with content strategy. You need to evaluate. Did the conversation land? Do you want to do it again? Should you adjust next time? Same rules apply to your podcast. If you never evaluate what's working, you're basically, here it comes, throwing spaghetti at the wall. Yeah, I know everyone says that, but if you've got a better one, please tell me in the chat. So let's roll up our sleeves. Grab your paper and your pen or your notes app. We're going to do this whiteboard style and walk you through this process as you create your own growth plan for your podcast. You can jot these down or talk it out with me in your head, but don't zone out. I'm also going to use YouTube as an example. Da, 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 da. YouTube. Boom. Now, one thing I want to tell you about YouTube, it is SEO based. It's owned by Google. And guess what? All podcasts are SEO based. SEO based means that it will be a slower grow than social media. That's why a lot of people want to throw social media at a podcast, but that's manually kickstarting your podcast. It's not letting SEO do its job for you. SEO can do the heavy lifting. So you can jot these down or talk it out loud in your head, but don't zone out. I'm also going to use YouTube as an example here. So you can see how I put it into action visually. So you can mirror the same questions for your own podcast. So when we look at D, this is basically how are you drawing them in, right? So what does that look like on YouTube? This is where you have your SEO research, your titles, your thumbnails, your descriptions, the things that get their attention. With your podcast, this is going to be your titles, your SEO. How are your titles hitting those people that are searching for your topic? Next up, we have attend. So drop me a D in the comments when you're done with the first one. Everybody ready to move on to attend? I see lots of questions. We'll be getting to questions after this. Okay, somebody's dropped a D, I see. Are there SEO tools? Yes, I will answer the SEO tools aspect. There are some things in Riverside, but we'll get to that here in just a minute. All right, so your next thing with attending to them, I'm clicking over every tab under the sun. Let me know how many tabs you got open.
If you're recording on Riverside, shut them all down.
Just shut them all down. So attend to them. This is your nurture phase. How do you nurture them through the episodes? Through the episode, not just the episode, but how are you taking them through that episode so that you can get them to the next phase? So drop me an A after you're thinking about your nurture phase. Drop me an A. Are you showing up with something fresh, or are you just regurgitating the same tips as everyone else? Let me know with an A when you're done. Got lots of D's. Oh, there's some A's. Okay, guys, moving quick. I
And
like
so, really
yes.
quick question with A. So it's basically, is this the same idea that when you draw somebody in with like a thumbnail, a fun title, is the A kind of just like you're delivering on what you promised in that thumbnail and title? Because we always
Yes.
talk about how important that
Absolutely.
is. That like
Yes.
you're not going to say that your video shows XYZ and then when they open it, it doesn't actually
It's
deliver on
actually
that
A,
because
B, and
then
C. Yeah. No, you
exactly.
don't wanna do that because if you become someone who doesn't deliver, they will stop coming back. You
Hmm.
won't convert them. They'll also leave. You have I think some people say 30 seconds to get their attention. I think you have less than that these days, to be honest. I really do. And it does depend on the format of what you're doing, but podcasting, I really think you gotta get their attention quick because so many people are either walking along and listening or they're, sitting down to listen to learn something from you. And if you don't get to the point fast enough, think about when you search for content for yourself. How many times have you searched for a very specific answer only to come across something that's like 6 hours long? You're like, I just have this damn answer. That's what my clients do is they focus in, laser focus on that question and answer that question. And that's how
I
you title. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's because Barbara in the chat had said, "What does this really mean? How do we start the episode, for instance? How do we talk to the audience?" And maybe we'll get to that, Leah, if you're gonna
Yes,
give
yeah, I
real
can give
examples. Okay,
her I can
we're,
I
we'll
can
give
give her
we'll
a
give
few
you.
examples, but the
Okay,
thing is that what that really means, and that's why I say the next two are often skipped, is you have to review it. It's something that over time you learn more and more. And I'll give you some examples of how you can do that. It's the market research that we all stop but don't continue. We
and
have to
sometimes.
continue the market research.
And I've heard like a great example that I was talking about in one of the newsletters that I put out is, let's say that you start it with the question, how do you get more subscribers and downloads? So then the video can start, people are looking for more subscribers and downloads, and there are some tricks that you can use to be able to get more
Or
people to
here's
watch your
5
show.
steps or
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, one
Plus,
guy the other day I was
I
watching
wanna, like, I will say, and then you can give another question. Plus, how do you get people coming back? We'll also get to that. So you
yeah.
can even throw in a second question, a follow-up question to keep people watching or listening into like, they know they're gonna get the thing that they clicked for, But an extra bonus question will also be getting to this later on. So a cool way to get people to
Yeah, it's
continue.
walking. You got to think more of, I think if you're, especially if you're doing services, if you're doing pieces that are more like, hey, like documentary style, or you're just talking about a topic, you share your story more through that, but you still have to prep them like, hey, you know what? I'm going to talk about this crazy thing that happened the other day when we were doing X, Y, and Z. But before we get to that, let me tell you what happened when if you're doing some kind of
Mhm.
documentary or something like that, you still have to prep them through it because in that sense, you're telling a story. So you got to foreshadow a little bit. But when you're
Yeah.
selling services, you're teaching. You got to prep. You got to make sure that they understand where you're going and be open to questions because questions help you understand. Um, so I see a lot of people asking questions about and let's get through this so we can get to the Q
Yeah,
and
I'm
A
collecting all
because
the I'm
that's
collecting
that's
all
a
the questions
common
too.
spot that people get stuck on because they're making content, they're getting out there and making content, but they feel like they're just churning like a little factory outlet. And what do we do next? The thing is when you go into the next two steps, this is where we wrap up understanding about our nurture phase up here. Turn them is the conversion rate. If they aren't watching all the way through to when you say, hey, join or click next or whatever your CTA is, then you need to go back through your content and find out where you're missing the gap in the content. Where are they dropping? Where are they leaving you so that you can improve that content? And that's why I say it takes a year because first you have to get the content out there so you can give it time to test. That's why we can't go, okay, just do this and it's going to be fixed in a day. So, because we have to test it. We literally have to test it. And that's where we get to this next step. And drop me a T when you're ready with the turn in. Make sure you have that call to action. What is your call to action? And if you're lost on that call to action, let me know. Maybe we can come up with something. It can be like as simple as, grab my freebie or sign up for my strategy call or listen to this next episode.
Could it be, yeah, I was gonna say, could it be for people that aren't selling, like, listen to the next episode,
Yeah.
leave us a review, subscribe, that
You
kind of
can
thing?
also mention past episodes because that's the beauty of SEO. It's there forever. You can also
Yeah.
mention, hey, we touched on this exact same thing in another episode. We'll put a link in the description. That's what makes SEO come alive, are backlinks and sending them to another thing. It makes Google go, oh, they like this content. It keeps driving. It's active. It's not just sitting there as some kind of fashion plate. It's actually got people linking so that it'll start to rank, but it takes a while for SEO to do stuff. But I mean, how long have we been churning our wheels on social media and seeing anything happen?
It's true.
So, I
It's
mean,
true, and it
the
takes
key
so
is
much work
having
to be doing that.
patience. The key is having patience and knowing what to look for. And this is how you do that. When you get into the evaluate, what you're looking at are the analytics, and you don't have to look at all the analytics. You're the business owner. So for me, two of those analytics that are the bottom line are the click through rate and the watch time. The click through rate literally means they actually clicked on your video and went and watched it. They didn't just see it. They went and watched it. And then you look at how long they watched, find out where they're dropping off, find out where they're coming back. All these analytics sort of they tell you that sort of thing as you go through each step. So as you're going through these steps, we're going to do the Q&A here in just a moment. I just have to fix my step. So with this T, are you turning them? Is your next step easy? Does it feel obvious to them? And E, what data are you checking? And do you actually know what it's telling you? Drop me an E when you're done. And we've walked through the state method together. You've created your own path for your podcast. What came up for you? Did you discover where you're nailing it and where you're not? What needs more focus right now? Share your insights and discoveries in the comments. And the common mindset trap we have here is before we dive into the Q&A, let me drop this on you. No plan survives first contact with reality. Every solid plan will change the minute you hit the road, whether you're running a podcast, a launch, or a cross country road trip for that matter. Maybe there's going to be traffic jam hits, maybe random sponsor bails, maybe a guest ghosts you. It doesn't matter. You still have to keep going. And there are two ways you can keep going: the fast way and the slow way. So I'm going to stop right now. I'm going to stop sharing so I can talk to you really quick because I'm going to go over the slow way first. You could go slow. You could really actually take all of this that we've learned today and apply it. DIY it and execute it on your own. And I find it's like trying to fix your car while watching a ton of YouTube videos. You get several different options and opinions and methods on how to get it done, and yet still not quite getting your car fixed the way you need it, all the while breaking three or other things along the way. So it takes you a lot longer. Or you could go the fast way, and the fast way is you take everything you've done today. You're excited, you've got some clarity, and we've walked this journey together. We can walk it together further by joining some of my programs. So if you want to know, that's the equivalent of knowing what's wrong with your car, but taking it to the mechanic to help you fix it. If this is clicking for you and you're tired of trying to duct tape your podcast together on your own, let's talk. I'd love to invite you to a 90-minute scale without stress strategy call with me. This is where we develop and go dive deep into your podcast, look through it with the date method lens, and I'll help you find where you're losing potential clients, tighten up your messaging, and build a 90-day roadmap to make your podcast an actual business tool. No fluff, no bullshit, just clarity and next steps. Ready for some Q&A? Let's start dropping those Q's in the comments and let's get to it. If you're wondering if your podcast is set up to convert, need me to roast one of your titles in a kind and loving way, or you're curious how to pivot your show towards selling services or sponsorships, lay it on me. I'm here for all of it.
Awesome. I'll go through the questions. I do want to say that for anyone who the link didn't work on screen, there is a link in the chat to book a call. So let's go through some of these questions. I'll start off at the top. Let me just.
There's a bunch of them.
There's so
Somebody's
much.
up for a roast.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me. Okay. Um, somebody had Angela had asked, "Do I need to get my podcast on YouTube in order to grow?"
No, you don't necessarily have to do that. It depends on, but if you choose a platform, choose one, stick with it. Because YouTube does work a little bit different in how it presents its analytics to, the way other podcasts might do this. Buzzsprout has its own set of analytics. That's the main thing is what is it telling you? What are the analytics telling you? And how to take those analytics and use them to your advantage in your content. So no, you don't have to be on YouTube unless you want to. You can do a full on audio podcast. The key is understanding the voice of your audience and talking in their language. It's like going to a doctor and they tell you, I'm going to make up some crazy word. It's flack smack is flat flat. That's what it sounds like to you.
The
And you're going, oh
medical
my,
term.
yeah, the
Yes.
medical term that makes you go, oh my God, I'm going to die. And really it just means your arm's asleep. So you want to talk, I see a lot of people making this mistake is they talk in their fields language when you have people that don't speak that every day. So talk in their language.
And we have a question from Charlie who had said, "Been consistent for 18 months, but analytics for every video are so different. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what the issue is." So for anyone who's having that kind of issue like Charlie is, what would you say would be the next step?
That would be, you need somebody to sit down and take a look at what's going on there. If you're inconsistent and it's hard to pinpoint whatever video, take a look at your titles first. Take a look at the titles first. Do they actually speak like somebody would when they go to search that topic? A good way to get started with that, one is, I hang out in the Riverside community and I'm just going to straight up be transparent about it. I'm a freaking business coach. I mean, I'm in there going, what do they need? That's my job to find out what you need in relationship to making money off of your podcast or making money off of your long form content. So I go in there and I study my people. You can do that. You can also try Answer the Public. I believe that's the name of it. Sometimes I get switched with Ask the Public, but I think it's Answer the Public. You can use that free a few times. And then there's Keywords Everywhere, which is a pretty economical choice, which uses Chrome. You can go through Google and it'll show you how often people are searching for things. There's vidIQ, there's TubeBuddy, there's 1,000 of them. Answer Public's a good place to start. It's pretty basic. It uses a visual graphic organizer to give you an idea of how people are asking these questions in many different ways, either alphabetically or, with like how and then fill in the blank kind of thing. It kind of shows you a little bit about how to title them, because having fancy titles is one thing, cute, fancy titles, but being very clear about who it's for and very simple is better than having something that's cute and fancy that people
Mhm.
don't understand. Well, what the fuck is this video about? I mean,
And
it's
yeah,
that's the
no, and
key.
like, and I think that like I've in another newsletter that we put out, we were talking about how it's so much why it's easier to grow on YouTube than let's say Apple Podcasts, because YouTube is actually people use YouTube like a Google search, where people
Somebody's
aren't.
saying one of the links doesn't seem to work. I'm not sure. Maybe
Oh,
it's on the
okay. I'm
screen.
also putting them in the chat as well.
Yeah.
So, but with YouTube, people are using it like Google sometimes. They're searching for a topic, where in Apple Podcasts, people aren't particularly doing that. So that's
Mm-mm.
why sometimes it's easier for people to grow on YouTube than it would be for something like Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Yeah,
We do have
in
a
my
qu
opinion, they don't quite give you as much. I like the analytics that YouTube provides. Yes, a lot of it does have to do with feeding the algorithm, but it also helps you understand when you understand which ones actually matter versus what's actually for the algorithm. When you understand which ones actually matter, you can actually not really worry about the algorithm and inadvertently be using the algorithm to your advantage by knowing which ones to look at. And for me, YouTube just lays out the analytics better, whereas something like Apple Podcasts, there's a little bit there, but not enough to really give you a keen idea of where to go next with your, with your content exactly inside the content itself.
Mhm.
And what titles are really working and what's really, and I think that's where you could get into something that tracks that sort of traffic.
I
Like
w
the Google or something like that might track it.
Speaking of kinda tracking and tools, Justin had asked, "Which tool can I use more effectively for SEO titles, descriptions, tags? ChatGPT, vidIQ, what do you recommend?"
Well, it kind of plays in this weird symbiotic relationship. ChatGPT, I wouldn't rely on it too much to optimize. I mean, it helps you brainstorm things, is what it does. And yes, it uses Google, but it's going to give you the generic shit everybody has out there, not what your audience is going to be looking for. vidIQ gives you an idea too. It gives you a ballpark because it's the same premise. What's really going to help you with your titles is getting into where they are and looking at how they speak about it. Join the groups where your people are. Look at Amazon. Look at the reviews on Amazon for books that cover the same topic as you. That's a great way to find out how people are talking about. Go to Reddit, talking about the topics that you discuss in your podcast. See how they're what are the things that they're talking about. What's the thing that they're really interested in? And it takes a little bit. It takes some. This is why Nike. If you want, I know Nike is a product based business, but I use it often as an example because it's one that's been around for freaking ever. And if you really notice, they've changed their message. They sell the same damn thing, but they've changed their message over time. At first, it was, "Hey, we have these really cool shoes that can make you run. They help you run." Then it turned into, "Hey, look, Michael Jordan's wearing our shoes. And they can just be like him." Then it turned into, "Here's every man running a marathon, whether he's a professional athlete or wants to be a professional athlete or not. You can run in our shoes." So that's something that a lot that's the basis of market research is getting into the heads of how that group of people that you want think about your topic. And the best way to do that is go and find out where they're talking about it.
Mhm. Roy had asked in the chat, "How valuable is it to say like and subscribe on YouTube or in an audio podcast? Everybody does it, but does it actually work?"
Honestly, I have done either or, and I really have not seen. I think that, I mean, sometimes I put like a little graphic at the bottom with a little ding, just to kind of, but honestly, and sometimes I'm like, I really don't want to. Um, there is some people say, yeah, but here's the thing. What is the goal of your podcast? Do you really care whether or not somebody subscribes, or do you care whether or not somebody takes that next step?
I would honestly do you think that it's more powerful also to have somebody review or subscribe to your work? Like, I find that a lot of the time when you have more reviews, you also get pushed up for something like Spotify
Mhm.
or Apple Podcasts or something like that. When you have more reviews, it
I
kinda
think,
adds more
yeah, that,
legitimacy for
and
them.
if you can create engagement.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like we've been doing today, we've been asking people, "Hey, make a comment. Tell me some things." That's what actually pushes the video out more than a subscriber count. But at the same time, it's like that twofold thing. You want loyal subscribers is what you want. And we have follow for follow and a bunch of people that just subscribe because you're my friend. Those really don't do you any good as a business person.
Mhm. Somebody had asked, Jake had asked, are impressions an analytic to be analyzed too, or ours are fluctuating?
Okay, so first, with impressions, I believe that's just where they see it. It depends on what platform we're talking about and how it defines it. Because what you want, like I said, that YouTube, it's click through rate. We have views, then we have click through rate. That click through rate is where they click to watch. That's like your conversion for your video. It's like they went to the checkout and said, I want to watch this video. That's what you need to look for, is where is that analytic? And that'll tell you whether or not your titles are kicking. And then you can kind of see if they're not, if you're not getting the same kind of view worthiness or engagement on your podcast, then you need to know and look inside your content and see, is your hook banging? Is the body carrying them to the CTA?
Mhm.
Kind of like some of the things that Kendall and I talked about before. I was saying, and then next we're going to hang around. We're going to be talking about blah. I'm also going to answer this question, or I'll tell you 5 things, and then I'm going to talk about how to fix it. You know,
It actually leads really well into a question that Heather Lee had asked. I can't get people to engage, so I have no idea who my podcast is speaking to. So I'm thinking of moving it to a subscriber platform like Substack. At least here, I'll have a connection to who those people are that are listening and watching. Is this a good
so
idea or bad idea? I'll show that on the screen again for you.
how long have you been trying to grow that podcast on that other platform? Is always going to be my first question before I make any assumptions moving forward. Because the fact of the matter is if you platform hop, you have to start all over again. 2 years, you have momentum there. You probably need to have your content reviewed to discover what is really working and what's actually holding your content back. And
Mhm.
what I would suggest that you do is go through and take a look and see if there's a cohesiveness. Are you narrowed down enough? And then review with yourself. If you need help, of course, you can do it with me, but review for yourself. Sit down and say, are these the type of people? Am I talking to the right person? A lot of times, like in service wise, we're talking to the broke girl mindset or the beginner, when actually our services are geared more towards somebody with a little more cash in their pocket. So that's something that you've got to think about. What I always do is like this timeline of my clientele. You have, there they are at the beginning of the stage. Here they are in the middle, and here they are at the end. You need to decide which one is that, and then go back through your content and say, am I talking to that person? It's kind of the difference between, a professional coach who coaches Michael Jordan versus how he would coach a little kid just starting out. It's two different things. Same thing he's teaching, but they start in different places and the mindset's different.
And we have a question from Jake and from Barbara. How do you get your core listeners to share the podcast?
I would not worry about your core listeners doing a damn thing other than actually clicking to watch the next one or clicking to buy your stuff.
Why is that?
Well, because what's the goal of your podcast, right? If you're wanting listeners and followers, you could tell them, hey, share with your friends. I'm not saying anything was wrong with that. But what is the main goal of your podcast? If it's to sell, then you're trying to move them towards a call. If it's to gain more listeners, yeah, sure, share with my friends, right? Share with your friends. If they would be interested in this podcast, if they would be interested in this topic, if you know of somebody, that's a good thing to do. But what is the ultimate goal of that content? It depends on what the goal of the content is as to whether or not you want to tell them 16 different things to do. And then if you're selling your services, they forget that you have a call because you told them to share with their friends and subscribe on YouTube. And, oh, yeah, by the way, could you please hop on Facebook and follow me? And, oh, hey, while you're at it, go jump on my website. Have one clear call to action and settle on that and test it for 1 year. Because if you test a whole bunch of things at once, you won't have any clarity on what's working.
And I think that if your goal is to share with your friends, get more listeners, I think that what's worked for me as a listener of podcasts is that, like, I'm listening to a podcast for the host a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I'm connecting with the host. I love the way that they speak. I want to hear more from them. But it's also like I'm rooting for them too, in a way. Like, I want their show to be successful because I love it and I wanna share it with my friends. So I think you could even open up as a host and say, like,
Mhm.
"Look, I'm trying to reach more people. I love doing what I do, and I love to get more people listening, watching the show." Like, you can be really transparent with the people that are listening and watching, and if
I
they're
just remembered
fans.
one that was more focused. She got some sponsorships down the road, but her thing was she had this passion for protecting horses and being an advocate for horses. So I mean, this is like a very much like these people that just want to get more listeners kind of aspect and just spread their word.
Mhm,
Anyway, it's just advocating for horses and showing what she believed was wrong in the situation. One of the things that she would say, and she did have, like content that was secret content. If you want to know more about me and Link, which is her horse, you can go over here and check it out. And a lot of people actually bought that. But one thing that she would do is say, "Hey, this is this is something that I'm doing to advocate for the horse. This is my mission. If you want me to continue my mission, then you can." I think at one point in time it was donate on uh what's the name of it? I just lost it. What is that? It starts with P. You said it earlier. Um Shoot. Anyway, if you haven't mentioned, you can say you can donate through Patreon. You can
Patreon,
donate.
yes.
Hello,
I was
brain
like,
fart.
"PayPal?
God,
Did I
God, what
mention
the hell?
PayPal?"
Word, press the word. No, on
Thank you,
Patreon,
Nicole.
I've seen them do that kind of thing so that I can continue to create more. Yes, thank you, Nicole. So that I can create more content, because I'm doing this for free and I blah blah blah. I've heard that kind of twist. My recommendation is go find other content creators that are similar to you, your competition, and write down what you like and what you don't like about how they do their stuff. And that's a way to discover how to do yours and stick out.
Mhm, absolutely. John had
Hey,
asked, "How do you
everybody.
feel?"
Patreon, Patreon.
How how do you feel about incentives for engagement, like, comments such as giveaways?
Okay, so I know what you're talking about. That's a great way if you're starting out, selling services, that sort of thing. If you have something that's more of a community oriented, like let's talk about this topic and I'm on a mission kind of thing. Giveaways can be great to do, but make sure that they align with your content. Like it's a good fit for that content. You could do a giveaway, you could say something like, "Hey, I'm giving away X number of sessions to one lucky person." That can be 3 sessions that highlight your 3 main pieces of how you teach a topic. You can do a giveaway that says, "Hey, I'm giving away, this mug," for example, to the next person who contents. If you want to buy this mug, you can go to my online store. There's things like that that you can do, but at the same time, you have to be careful. There's a thin line between being an endless font of free stuff and someone that's just trying to pump up the interest and gain more and kick off basically a campaign with a giveaway and then that leads to something else, not just to be giving away.
We have a question also, this is interesting, from Charlie. "My podcast is a guest podcast with a new guest each week, new topics, but all related to a geographic area. Wondering if focusing on the speaker instead of the geographic content is a mistake for SEO. Would you recommend if, like, we're talking about a specific area and then we have guests, should people be highlighting the guests or should people be highlighting the area or let's say the topic?"
Well, let's see. Okay, all right. If I put on there, and I'm thinking this is like maybe like a travel or maybe studying some kind of geographical area, something like look at the world kind of content. Let's say it's travel, and I'm gonna get on there and I'm gonna say, "Hey, Kendall's gonna come on and talk to me, and she's an amazing person." Blah blah blah. Or are they gonna search how to visit Los Angeles in 3 days? The best places to visit in Los Angeles in 3 days.
Mhm.
That's how you get their attention. And then with the guests, kind of like what Kendall did, we talked about the thing that we knew together. We didn't really highlight me. I mean, I ride horses. I could bore the crap out of you with my vanilla lifestyle, or we could get into what you came here for today. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would also
That's kind of how you
recommend.
highlight the speaker and the content, but I would highlight the content more.
Yeah, I would highlight the topic first and then also talk about the speaker because correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have the speaker in the description, that's enough for the for SEO. I don't need it in my title, right?
Well, at
To
the
get
same time, you gotta remember with transcription and AI, there's your
Mhm,
SEO. So if
mhm.
you learn to talk like the person talks and speak in the way that they need to speak, then your podcast will grow. You'll notice oftentimes when I speak, I don't say it or that a lot. I'll say the exact thing that it needs that we're talking about. That's your conversion rate. That's your call to action. Those are SEO terms that my people are going to search. So YouTube, podcasts, SEO picks up on a lot of that stuff, especially if you're putting it into a transcript or a blog or something like that. But it picks it up because these days it's automatically transcribed.
And we have a few questions on one topic that's basically about podcast length and strategy.
Yeah.
So we have, can you speak about a podcast length and strategy for retention for a longer podcast?
Okay. Now the
We have
strategy for
another
the
question
retention
on
takes a
kind
little
of
while.
on how long should an SEO friendly YouTube podcast be? An hour or so. So let's talk
Yeah.
for a
So we
second on
got
podcast
length.
length. Yeah.
I think it depends. It does take quite a bit of understanding of how to keep someone there for an hour, let's say. So, like for the other day, I was telling you, Kendall, before we hopped on, Sean Cannell, who is of Think Media, he did a webinar that was an hour long, but I noticed some things that they did during that webinar that kept me there and it didn't feel like an hour. So, break up your content into sections, but use what I call I worked in radio broadcasting segues. And a segue is basically, okay, we're done with this chapter. Now we're going to move into this chapter. You're carrying that person through there, but the hook, if you're not nailing your hooks or you feel like you could work a little better on your hooks, focus there because the first thing you got to do is get them to not press, okay, click next thing. It's kind of like the same thing as channel surfing when I don't know how old people are out there, but when we had the remote, just click, 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 click. You got to make them stop that because YouTube is fast becoming a TV and podcasting is fast becoming with audio, fast becoming the replacement for radio. And the
Mhm.
key is how do we keep them there? And if you start having spot breaks, you got to figure out how do we keep them through the spot break? So you have to have that mindset of, am I keeping them there? Am I prepping them? Or am I just a talking head that's rambling on and on? As for length, there's no magic length. The length pertains to what you're finding out from your clientele or from your listeners and how well you deliver that content and how well you do it to keep them engaged. And that's something that is studied over time. There's no magic pill that's going to go ding. But if I were going to tell you, give you kind of like a goal, I would stick with 10 to 15 minutes. And if you get really, really good at communicating what it is you're talking about in your podcast, you may be able to go a little bit longer. But what we tend to do is ramble. Try to stick to 10 to 15 minutes and really, really, really narrow down your focus on one little question. But I wouldn't pressure myself about the length. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I had an old producer who used to always say, "Let it be as long as it wants to be." When I'd ask him how long a video should be, and he's like, when you're sitting there being like, "When is this over?" Or that you feel like a video is too short. Like a conversation should be as long as you feel like it's actually holding and interesting and getting into exactly what you want to get into.
Oh, it's like
And we
going
only have
back to
a
the dating thing, I mean, it really is. Are they interested in what you have to say? Are they engaged? And two, do you want them to listen? I mean, really do need to ask that. Do you want some of these people to listen?
and speaking of segues and dating method, we have a question. I'm unclear what Leah does for your podcast. Helps evaluate where you can grow or helps you flesh out your date methods. So I want to plug
Well,
talking to
yeah.
Leah one more time before we see you out. But I want to get I have a bunch of people asking for a link to be able to chat with you, and I'll put it in the
Okay.
chat again.
You can also
But
find me on Facebook Messenger. I'll plop that in there too. Let me grab that real quick and then we'll address what he's talking about. Okay.
and
There we
okay.
go. Okay. This is where you can message me on Facebook.
And speaking of Facebook and messaging, as we're kind of reaching the top of the hour, I do want to say that I ended up connecting with Leah through Facebook, But if anyone's not part of our Facebook community, we have some really great conversations going on there. We have Leah there. We have me there. Leah at this point is probably more enticing than me being there. And I
I'm the
also
new
just want to
girl at
open
school.
I also just want to plug the fact that if you are watching along and you feel like you have some knowledge to share in a community workshop just like this one, I'm always looking for more people in this community who are able to share just something that they are doing that they think other people can be helped by. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to put my email on the screen, kendall@riverside.fm. um, spam me. I'm kidding. Don't spam me. But
Yeah, please, for the love of God.
yeah, but just write to me if if you do want to take
I
part in
am
one of these
going to
community
put I am
workshops.
going to give people my email. I don't usually do this publicly because, like, it's Leah@leahsparrow.com. But if we're going to get back to into what everybody else is saying about my services, what I do is I take a look at what your current system is for bringing in clients. I focus on selling on your podcast and selling your services. And what I do is we go through and we evaluate your efforts through your content. What I do is I teach a business owner how to speak like a business owner. It's just like when um if you watch, you'll have the marketers, the salespeople. They're really good at giving you a good spiel, a good pitch. They're really good at that. But a business owner, when you talk to a business owner, it's different.
Mhm,
It's about how to relate your services to somebody that can fully support that person and the right person. So speaking in that mindset, in that mindset of that person that you want to engage with your content, that you want, that will, where you've got content that becomes evergreen, that converts, so that you don't have to spend a ton of time working on all the content under the sun, but you can do what I call placeholder marketing, where you have one good piece of content that you can use to convert people into clients. And then we can discover the other pieces of content. This could be for your podcast, the other episodes that tend to lead those people to that next step, and how you can use those as we grow on your website, in your email marketing, and your efforts to gain more clients. But first, we have to discover what content is working, and I can review it with you and really take a look at what you're doing. Do you have to have all the data and analytics? No, no, you don't, because I can literally tell from your schedule what's missing. So if you really want to break it down, if you don't understand whether or not your titles are working, then look at how to create good titles. And you could go and you could get something. I use Chat GPT to help me, but at the same time, you have to have the knowledge of your client in your head in order to make sure those titles don't just take the title it gives you. It may be optimized great, may have all the great things, but it may not be speaking to the right person,
mhm.
because some niches are tweaked so much, like mine is. For example, I know I'm going to have a small audience because I am targeting people who are making 2 to 5K per month and wish to scale to 10K or more a month, right? That's a very small group of people that I'm targeting. But I also know that 45% of all entrepreneurs are suffering from burnout. So my goal is to help you discover exactly where to focus as a business owner, so that you can hire the right people, so that you can talk about the right things and do the right things in your business, as well as live the life you freaking want to live, versus sitting in front of a freaking computer all day long.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody who joined live and watched along. Thank you to anyone who's watching this back. This has
I'll see you
been
soon,
such,
Gray. Thank you so much, Gray. Gray
yeah,
Transformations. Travis, I
this
can't see
has
the rest of his name, but thank you. I'll
This
see
has
you
been
soon.
such a great session. Leah, you have been amazing, not only with your tips, but also with the amount of engagement that you're bringing that you're bringing to the table. It's really just been not only really educational, but a lot of fun to watch. I think I can speak for everyone when I say that. So thank you so much. And thank you again for everyone who tuned in, and talk to you soon. Yeah, Leah, stick around. I'm gonna
You're gonna
I'm gonna
annoy
stop.
me? Okay.
I'm gonna yeah, 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 yeah. Perfect. Thank you guys.
Thank
Have a
you,
great rest of your day.
everybody.
Alright, bye.